Richard Grace is the first one to log on here. The Astro Beard.
Hey, Richard. All right. Been a while. We hope he's doing well.
Yeah, I think he's still working on his house.
Yes, all the summer projects are coming in. I guess Dr. Daniel Barth, right? He was talking about his deck repair that was
Yeah.
a little more extensive than he wanted originally. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's the way these things work, eh? I mean,
That's the way decks work.
yeah, that's the way decks work. Yeah, yeah. How about you guys? Any house projects?
Not yet. Kent does.
Yeah, it's building a house.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Sooner than it has been, but this has been going on since August. We finally are going to get, hopefully, on the land. My son owns the land now. We did a simple property line adjustment because I'm moving next door to him. And then we got to get a new plat created and a 911 address, and then we can go from there.
Cool. Well, that's really nice.
But the most important part of all this is the observatory that he's putting in.
True that.
Yes, that's right.
Portal 4 skies, I think.
Fantastic.
So
that's perfect.
But light pollution is, creeping in subdivisions, and Northwest Arkansas is growing by leaps and bounds.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's true.
Well,
I'm zooming in to see what it is. No, it's not big Bortle. It's going to be more like they've updated the map.
Like rock salt, and then you can take out all the lights.
Yeah, Bortle 4.
That's good.
So it could be better, but for around here, close in, that's about as good as you can get without moving out into the national forest.
Yeah, it's location is key. I mean, you'd be able to have all the conveniences, and it's always a trade-off. But I think that's pretty darn good, and that will give you.
East and north are going to be really good, and west will be okay. Southwest is going to be bad because it's looking into the heart of the metropolitan area.
I have a similar thing here in Seattle. West of me is downtown Seattle, and Tacoma and Olympia, of course, further to the southwest. So it's basically anything to the west is good for planets. And then, but yeah, to the east is pretty good. Probably Bortle. For me, Bortle 6, probably to the east, Bortle 8 to the west.
Mike Wiesner, today's hump day for those still working. Just another day for those of us who are retired.
Nice. Jealous.
Yeah. Well, all the guys I know that are retired work harder in the retired
Yes
than they do in their career, right?
So what does that make the day? What's the name for the day of those that are retired working?
I have no idea. Crazy? That's what I call them. Why would you give up your job?
When you take a picture of the sky, you might see this. An overexposed, bright white glare that we know as the sun. In photos, the sun appears white because it emits all the colors we could see at once. Our eyes can only see a narrow range of light, known as the visible spectrum. When they combine together, they make white light. But the sun also emits light that is invisible to the naked eye. These are images from NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory, or SDO. It was launched in 2010 and has been observing the sun from space in a way that our eyes cannot. SDO uses instruments with special filters to see the sun in 10 different wavelengths of light, including many that we can't see with our own eyes. For us to see them, scientists convert SDO's data to colors we can see. The different colors correspond to different temperatures and regions on the sun. This allows us to study how the sun releases material that can travel across the solar system
everybody's
and
resting,
affect
having
our
a really good
technology
day.
in space and
My
on
daughter
Earth.
Jessica's watching.
These
which is
wavelengths
cool.
show us the sun's upper
she has her
atmospheric layers
sushi.
at different temperatures. This
Cool.
wavelength highlights filaments and prominences.
Jessica's been with me to lots of different
These
star
wavelengths
parties
highlight the
and
corona, the
events.
sun's atmosphere that
A really
is much
special one
hotter
was
than the sun's
when we were at
surface,
Yerkes
and
Observatory.
shows features like
And we get to
coronal
spend
loops
the
and
night
coronal holes.
observing through the
The
historic
wavelengths
40-inch
here reveal
refractor,
the
the
sun's
world's
active
largest
regions, which
refracting
have
telescope.
intense magnetic activity
Pretty
that
nice.
sometimes give rise to eruptions.
Nice.
These wavelengths
Pekka wants to
contain
know
the
when I'm
hottest
going to
material
launch
in
an
a solar
EScope
flare.
to space. We kind of
Being able to
already
see
did.
constant
We
movement
used
of material on the sun
we
and in
launched
its
an ED-80
can help
into the edge of
scientists better
space
understand how
with
our
a
sun
high-altitude
behaves.
balloon.
And how to track storms
So
that
the guy
might
Tony
affect our
Phillips with
satellites and
spaceweather.com
astronauts
did
in
that
space
for us.
or
It was pretty cool.
communications on Earth.
Jessica's remembering. She says, like a palace. Yes, it was.
Okay, Scott, you got to tell us about the balloon, the telescope to space.
The
On,
telescope to space. Well,
yeah,
it's
Tony
just,
Phillips put up.
yeah, he was talking to me about would it be cool if we took one of your telescopes because this is years ago when he was first starting to do some of his high altitude stuff. Tony Phillips is with NASA, and so he's been doing some high altitude research and stuff. But he just thought it would be fun to put one of our telescopes up there and take pictures with the curvature, the Earth behind it and stuff like that, with a black sky. And so we did it, and it was fun. I'll have to find the video sometime or get in touch with Tony and see if he still has it in his archives.
Doesn't he run spaceweather.com?
He does. He runs
Yeah.
spaceweather.com. He's known, he's been known in NASA circles for a very long time. And, that outreach effort that he has with spaceweather.com is absolutely phenomenal. I think Tony also was the one who revamped NASA's websites originally. Now, you see these fantastic websites that they have, but I think that the turning point from being kind of a more, how do I say, it looked a little dry, okay? So, it was NASA, a government website, right? Now it looks more engaging and, so it's a better platform for them to communicate what's going on with space missions and stuff to the general public, so which is totally cool. Our episode today, we're going to have Annie give us, the goings-ons with the Explore Alliance. We will have Kent Marts in his 42nd episode of FirstLight Chronicles talk about, the entries that were submitted to us on our 40th show about their favorite constellation. So of course, we already announced a winner, the 40 millimeter eyepiece, but we do want to talk about some of these entries that were pretty cool. He's also going to talk about the Galileoscope, as a teaching aid. This is a telescope kit that was built originally for the International Year of Astronomy, which was in 2009. It was, a joint project with the International Astronomical Union and UNESCO. So that was a cool deal. Explore Scientific is now the manufacturer of that design, but we still work with the original guys that put together the Galileoscope. So that is a continuing theme. Cameron Gillis is in his 6th episode of Camstronomy, and he's going to take us through his journey in the constellation of Libra and beyond as he goes on. But he's also going to talk about his astroimaging setup, which There were a lot of questions about during the, I think the last Global Star Party, which by the way was a great Global Star Party. We had great speakers on as usual, and the theme was Treasures of the Milky Way, and so we got some really cool poetry. One of them was a poem from Deep Tea Good Tom. Let me see if I can find it. I may have to clean it up a little bit, but she wrote it down for me. Galaxy, this is her poem. With the sun and moon and the planets near, and the stars spread like the pixie, where asteroids come together and meteors shine, it's our beautiful Milky Way galaxy. It's the perfect view for all, with stars that twinkle in the dark, with many asteroids big and small, and meteors that's shining like a bright spark. There's something unique about it. It's Thai, marvel of God's creation. It's the dance of heaven on nature's beat, and a reliever of frustration. But due to us, this picturesque scene will be full of dirt someday. So let's preserve nature as it's been, as its deeds of kindness repay. And so that was her poem last night. Pretty nice.
Really nice, really nice. Thanks for
Really nice. Yeah, isn't that cool?
rephrasing it. That's really nice.
Yeah, yeah. So anyways, let's turn our stage over to Annie. Annie, what's happening in the universe of the Explorer Alliance?
A lot of stuff is going on. First of all, I have to announce or remind everybody that we do have an astrophotography contest going on for galaxies. That's running through, I believe, August 6th or 8th. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
So
Let me see if I can find the link for it.
Yeah. So get those entries in so we can see all those wonderful, amazing photos that everybody takes.
Right.
Last time Tyler asked me to help him pick one, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is really hard to do.
It's galaxy season,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. So anyways, but it's a lot of fun and a lot of interesting. It's really interesting to see everybody's photos and stuff. As he's peering at me over the wall in my cubicle.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, okay. And then in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to start hopefully showing our members how the care that goes into their products that they send in for cleaning, collimation, repair, whatever. I've started that process of trying to get some content for us. So people kind of just know the ins and outs of Explore Scientific and who all is working on their babies. I'm going to call them babies because I know. Yeah, I know. Some of the products that people have are very, very, very important to them, and so and we feel the same way. And I just want our members and our customers to be able to see the care that we take with their items that they send in. So.
Sure.
And then I'm gonna share my screen. I'm actually gonna show the certificates I tried last week, but I forgot I had this virtual background on me, and so so give me just a second. So this is what the certificate will look like. That's coming in the welcome packet.
Okay.
And of course, it's got Scott's signature down there on the bottom. This member,
Yeah, they're making me actually sign every one of these things. So
which I think we're at 100. I think we're at 1,125 members.
Like total writer's cramp.
Yes.
He sees Andy coming and starts hiding under his desk.
That's right. Here you go. Just throw 500 of them. That's no different than buying a house, I guess, right?
Yeah.
1,000 signatures.
Yeah. So, and everybody has a member ID. And then we're gonna. I think I've pretty much got everybody's date that they joined. So hopefully that'll be current. And anyway, so this will come in a nice little black holder, and it will mail that out. And then along with that comes. Let's see if I can get it to go. this lovely
Ooh.
sticker.
Oh, I
this-
want one.
This right now is sitting on Tyler's water bottle. He uses every day, constantly. And so, so obviously you can stick it on anything, a cup, a car, just, I mean, anything you want to.
Your neighbor's car.
Yeah.
I have to say, it's a really cool logo. I love it.
It is a cool logo.
Yeah.
Scott,
Actually, I have 2 of them on my truck right now. So
Yeah. So,
but you're not a member of the Explorer Alliance. I didn't see, how'd you get them? Your name's not on the list.
I know a guy.
actually,
I know a guy.
Actually, his name is on the list, just so you know.
He still does know a guy.
So anyway, so yeah, you can put that on anything you want to promote Explore Alliance with, and then that would be great. You can show it off and people ask you questions. Okay, and then next week was going to be our first week for putting our members' names into a drawing pile. All of our members are going to go in there. If you have updated contact information, address, phone number, and email, and first and last name, if we have all that information,
Hi, everybody.
then we'll be able to.
Today we're going to show you exactly.
Scott, you're running a video.
I know I am. Hold on, guys.
What
Hold
you're going to
on.
need.
There we go. That's better.
Then we'll be able to. Then we'll be able to get the prizes and these packets out to the members. So I'm going to show you what we're going to be drawing for. So this is we're going to give away an Explorer Scientific hat. It only comes in black. That's just the option. So which
I have a couple of bald spots up here. Does it have like those red hair grow LED lights on the inside of it?
we might no. Do those actually work? Have you tried it?
Yeah, I had lost all my hair. Now I've got this. You know?
No, well,
I just have to make sure it's on straight. You know. So.
Put your toupee on right.
Right.
Okay, and then this is we're going to give away an Explorer Alliance members T-shirt. It has logo on it, and
Cool.
it comes in all these different colors. The availability will depend on the size. So, oh look, Mr. Kent, look at you, looking all smart.
Yep. Went and
Oh,
grabbed
he's
my
wearing his
cat.
hat. That's
And
right.
his hat. So,
I know a guy.
so if
That's a guy.
you, so if you're on Groups.io or you have an account on our website, update and you're a legacy or platinum member, just make sure your information's correct, because I would love for you guys to win.
Hey, Annie, we
to win
used
stuff.
to have a standard membership. Have all those expired now and either downgraded to legacy or you've upgraded them to platinum?
No,
Okay, so there's still some out there.
there's still some out there. In fact, I just got one in the other day. For some reason that got missed, but there's a couple. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, and if they haven't expired, we're going to let that membership run out, and then at the time that expires, I'm going to give those members a call and see what they want to do, if they want to upgrade to a platinum or just drop down to the legacy. So they're both great programs. They're both offer great benefits, and you have the opportunity for so much education, not just in astronomy, but in other areas. And so it's just, both sides of them are worth it. So, but it's just whatever the customer wants. So is what we'll do. But yeah, so yeah, that's all I have.
That's it? Now,
Is
you wanted me to run a video, right? You wanted me to run a video.
Yeah. So I have a video on cleaning. This is a perfect example of some things that we offer here on our YouTube channel. And of course, if you call one of our customer service reps and just want to know how to do something, we have content that we are able to send customers to help them figure those things out, or we'll troubleshoot over the phone with them. I mean, we are more than happy to help and fix things, and try to our goal is to have those. Sorry, Scott. Our goal is to have those to have those telescopes up and running.
Absolutely.
And so we want to try our best to help the member customer, whoever it is, figure out what's going on with their things. And so
Yeah.
or
We want to
just
keep them productive.
or just learning about the capabilities. Some people buy a high-end telescope and and then they start off at, just learning about it and then eventually get into astrophotography or whatever. And so
Sure.
just being able to walk that path with them. So, but yeah, so it's a collimation video.
Is that the drum? Was that my
That's
cue
your drum roll.
to cue it up? Okay.
Yep, there you go. Please play the video.
Oh, okay. All right, here we go.
Hi everybody, it's Mike Hatch with Explore Scientific. Today we're going to show you exactly how to collimate your refractor telescope. What you're going to need is a Cheshire Eyepiece, a hex wrench, and a flashlight.
Is that my 8080?
Collimation is the alignment of the lens
Yeah,
cell
we've been
on the end of your
keeping it
telescope.
here.
The lens cell is what's holding those optics in, so you want to make sure those are aligned and centered to give you the best performance out of your telescope. Now looking at our board here, we've got two examples, one of a collimated telescope and one that is out of collimation. By looking through your Cheshire Eyepiece, you're going to be able to see crosshairs or circles depending on the design of your Cheshire. A collimated telescope is going to have one solid crosshair right in the middle of that lens cell. An out of collimation telescope, you're going to see multiple crosshairs that are out of the center. Your goal is to bring those crosshairs into the center to create one bold crosshair. So this is our Cheshire Eyepiece, and you can find these across the web and order one at any range of price. Now, you will install this into the back of your telescope into the focuser. You're then going to snug your tensioned collar to hold this in place, and you want to make sure that it's nice and flush against the end of that focuser to ensure an accurate collimation reading. Once it's installed in the back of the focuser, you're going to take your flashlight and shine it right through the top of that opening, like so. There's then going to be a peephole in the back of the Cheshire, and that's how you will view the position of your collimation. Now, to understand the front of your telescope a little bit better, you will see 3 to 4 groupings of 2 screws around the front of your lens cell. One is your adjusting screw, and one is your locking screw. The one on the right is your locking screw, and you'll see that it's sticking out a little bit farther than the adjusting screw. Now, to start your collimation process, you're going to loosen this locking screw very slightly, anywhere from 1/4 to 1/2 turn. Then you will be able to adjust your adjusting screw to achieve perfect collimation. Here we have 2 examples, one of a collimated lens cell and one that is out of collimation. The collimated lens cell, you can see there's one solid crosshair in the center of the optics. The out of collimation, you will see anywhere from 2 to 3 crosshairs that are out of place, not in the center. So our goal is to bring those in and stack them on top of each other to create that one solid crosshair. Now, after you've loosened your locking screw slightly, you are then going to evaluate the position of the out of place crosshairs. You are then going to find the adjustment point that is opposite of those out of place crosshairs. You will then adjust your adjusting screw, snug up all the locking screws around the lens cell, go back to your Cheshire Eyepiece and evaluate your collimation. If it's still out of place, you'll go back to the front of the lens cell, you'll loosen up those locking screws, do your adjustment on your adjusting screw, and go back to the Cheshire and repeat the process as necessary. And don't forget to lock it. That will ensure that your collimation will stay in place after it's been achieved. Thanks for watching, guys. That is exactly how you collimate a refractor telescope. So if you run into any problems or have any questions, go ahead and call our 800 number or reach out to our customer service through email, and they'll be able to help you with any of your needs.
So
Excellent.
that's that. Okay,
I
so
saw Kent swinging by in the background there.
Actually, that was actually Alex. It wasn't me. I don't
Oh, was that
think.
Alex? Okay.
I think it was Alex. Yeah.
Okay.
You know what's great about that video is we actually, even our CSRs actually go in and learn. They don't do that on a regular basis, collimate a telescope, but we are taken in and taught the ins and out of collimating a telescope, so that way we can help customers over the phone be able to collimate, learn how to collimate their own telescopes. So
sure.
You know, people think collimation is this big, dark, scary
Gary.
animal, you know, and they send it to us to do, and there's really, you know, I understand it, but there's no reason for it. And the reality is, you know, you want to treat it like once it's collimated. I mean, when I travel with my telescopes, I treat them like they're precious eggs or children wrapped up in pillows and blankets and stuff, and I want them padded. But when we send them, you know, through whichever shipping service we send them through,
Yeah.
you know, it's just another box of the avalanche that's coming all night long. And, you know, I have had telescopes that have been perfect collimation that I looked at and shipped out, and they arrive out of collimation. And there's no ultimate guarantee that it's going to arrive to you in collimation, despite the locking screws and the shipping screws and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to potentially come out of collimation. So, you know, people who are into this and get to a certain level need to learn how to collimate their telescope. It will speed up and make things better. And you can't, unless you unscrew the screws all the way, you can't really damage anything. Although we have had customers who have taken their lens cells out. And
We've had customers completely disassemble their telescopes and send them back, all the parts.
yeah, in pieces. We
Wow.
got a telescope with the triplet lens cells wrapped up in a tissue paper,
Oh my gosh. Oh
and
my
asked
gosh.
us to put it back together. Well,
Could you reassemble this for us?
we had somebody take apart it was the coma corrector. Took a coma corrector part
Oh, took one of them apart.
and
Okay,
didn't index which side was up on any of them, and then mixed up the order, and then tried it multiple times and finally gave up. And you know, it's a challenge to do stuff, but don't take stuff apart like that. You know, it's together for a really good reason. So
Hey,
don't
but
take
it's
it
fun to
apart.
see what's inside, right? I mean, you might
It's-
find a
it's-
prize in there or something.
It's called glass. Yes,
Plug glass.
mostly glass.
But you-
No,
but-
I just want to make a shout out. You know, Kent helped me. Actually, that's how I got into this team as well. Kent was helping with collimation last year with my refractor, and that was a really tremendous help. So I have my own Cheshire Eyepiece, and it works really well. And like you said, you just a little bit of practice, you can easily do it. The main thing is obviously the triplet itself has to be perfectly collimated, and then you can take the lens cell itself and do that collimation yourself,
Sure.
which is good. Yeah.
For anybody out there that wants to take a lens apart, okay, and make sure that they put everything back in the right way, this is how they do it. I don't have any videos of this, okay, but how they do it is they have, they'll use like a piece of tube. Any kind of tube will work. It needs to be smaller than the lenses you want to take out of a barrel, okay? And you can put like on the top of the tube, like felt, so you're not scratching up, you know, the top of the lens. Then what you do, I shouldn't even be telling people how to do this, but this is what you do. This is what you do. You'll go in. There's sometimes you need a spanner wrench, okay, and you'll unscrew a ring. So the spanner wrench clicks into like two teeth, and they'll come apart, and it comes out. And then you need to drop in your little pipe, okay, and then you do this. You turn it all like that. You set it down on the table, and then you carefully pull the barrel away from the stack of lenses. Now, I've done this myself because I had to clean some stuff, and it's very easy to knock over the stack because you just got a stack of lenses there. Okay, nothing's holding it in place anymore. So you're letting gravity kind of one on top of the other. But when they're assembling lenses in barrels of any kind, this is kind of the process that they do it. With the Explore Scientific eyepieces, they do that, and then they have O-ring seals, okay? So because our eyepieces are waterproof. So not only do you have to assemble a multi-lens element system where it's perfectly clean, okay? And even though you're at an air scrubbing table, you're wearing a face mask, you got the gloves on, all that stuff, you still get particles of dust, okay? It's really difficult not to have it in there. But okay, so you get real good at it. We have you to put you on the line to build eyepieces. You have to do I think it's 50 of them correctly, okay? And everybody's trying to bust you, okay? Because they're looking very carefully at the inside, making sure you don't have tilted lenses, make sure that everything's centered up. It's an assembly process. If you did the assembly right, then it goes into a purging chamber, okay? And we use argon gas, and we put the eyepieces in there, and they have a one-way valve. It's underneath where it says AR. There's that's just a little sticker up on top of it. But underneath that sticker is the one-way valve. Don't punch anything into it, okay? But then what we do is we purge the tank, and the eyepieces get purged along with it. Once that's done, then it has to go into a bath of water, 1 meter deep, and they drop the eyepieces in there for 30 minutes. Can't leak, okay? If it leaks, you get to start all over again, okay? You have to rebuild your eyepiece. So it passes that test, then they clean it. A separate group of people look at that to see if there's any kind of dust or any anomalies, okay? And then that's what gets packaged. It comes here from the factory, then we inspect them again. We have an air scrubbing table ourselves. So that's the deal, and that's how we work with Explore Scientific eyepieces.
Yeah. So one thing that people will look in there, and they'll get the angle just right, and they can see something that they interpret as a broken O-ring or a broken airspace gasket. And really what they're seeing is where that air purge valve comes in, because there's a place they can see that. And I've brought back multiple eyepieces, probably in the range of 6 to 10, that people are convinced that that's something else, and we get them in here and we look at it, and that's exactly what it is. It's a little, and you can see it, and I'm amazed that people look at their eyepieces in that detail with that kind of instant light coming at a really sharp, crazy angle, and they're looking at their eyepiece like this to see it, and they just get convinced that it's something wrong, and it's just the purge valve, nothing else.
Right. Well, a lot of people think that somehow light's going to come at this really oblique angle, and that it's going to screw with their image. That's not the case at all. Starlight's going to come straight through that lens. The image forming part of those optics are not going to be at the very, very edges of an eyepiece. It's over the whole surface of the eyepiece, okay? And the very edges just have no effect really whatsoever. One of the things that we do to reduce any kind of edge effect that could happen is we edge blacken the lenses. So the lenses are actually, they're put on a little spinner, and they go and they paint flat black paint on the edge of the glass itself. This is where it looks kind of like frosted glass at the very, very edge. And what this does is it prevents light from scattering within the lens, okay? So you have this kind of, I think it was called a Sabatier effect, okay? Where an uncoated or an unblackened lens or even an uncoated lens, light will go through the lens, bounce off the bottom surface, come back up at the top surface, and do this bouncing kind of thing. And then also you have light scatter going sideways. All it does is it doesn't reduce sharpness, it reduces contrast. And so this is the reason why you want to multi-coat lenses. And if it's in an eyepiece or a high-end optic, you'd like to have the edges blackened, okay, which can also help. If it's already put into a barrel that's very dark, that's not an issue, but with eyepieces, it's a very good idea. So anyway, Annie, thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We are going to turn this over to Kent Marts, who's going to talk about your favorite constellations. So,
Yeah, it's not my favorite constellations, but your favorite constellations. And Scott, you sent me a chat. I answered that for you.
oh yeah,
So,
as far as moon filters,
yes, we have 2-inch moon filters in stock, neutral density moon filters, but we do not have 1.25 inches. So let me get my screen shared here.
yeah.
Okay, so FirstLight Chronicles, 40th episode, which was last week. We should have announced it on Wednesday, and we didn't. So we went ahead and announced it on Thursday just to get it done and over with. But we shall proceed real quick with the first part. Come on. The winner, it was a 52-degree 40, marking the 40th episode. The winner is, or was, or will be, Martin Eastburn.
Martin Eastburn.
And I think we've already shipped it. I didn't check, but it should have shipped by now. And Martin gave a real long, pulled a lot of data.
Awesome.
You know, and just a whole bunch of just good information on the Scorpius and Scorpio and you know, history of it and carvings and things like that. And so that was the winner. But we also had other, and how we picked the winner was we just put every entry in the order they were received in email into a spreadsheet and used a random number generator to generate the number, and bingo, that was our winner. So Jim Norwood went with Cassiopeia, and you know, it doesn't have to do with the legendary status of Greek mythology. It doesn't much have to do with the status of one of the oldest recorded constellations. It doesn't have much to do with the fact that Cassiopeia is circumpolar and home to rich Milky Way galaxies. The reason is it's a favorite constellation is it points to his his favorite naked eye galaxy, Andromeda. So for those of you who don't know how that points, he sent us a drawing as well. And this is how he finds Andromeda.
Mm-hmm.
I use the Andromeda to come down. It looks like a horn of plenty, you know, with fruits and vegetables. I go down to the second set of double stars and then move up, which would be west, the same distance as it is wide, and right there it is. So that's how I do it. But everybody has their own method, but that's why he likes it. So Richard Grace went with Cassiopeia. Looks like mountains, and he likes mountains. He learned to find Polaris, navigating purpose on land. This led to being able to navigate better during the night sky. Cassiopeia also shows the way to Andromeda once again, which once seen from a dark site sent me down the astronomy rabbit hole to buy a telescope and another and another and another and another and looking forward to more. And he spent many a cold night star hopping down from Cassiopeia to M31.
Right. When Richard's wrapping his whole life around astronomy right now with his new place, and you know, hopefully his new observatory will be built soon.
Wonder what he's going to name it. You know what it's going to name it? Redbeard Observatory, or?
I think it's going to be called the Northern Cross Cygnus.
Okay. This is Ron Delvaux.
No, that's Ron Delvaux.
Yeah, that's Ron Delvaux.
No, then the Cassiopeia Observatory. That's what I think it can be called.
So it's full of beautiful stars. look for the summer. It's also lines in the Milky Way. The colorful double star Albireo is at the southern end of the constellation. When he's taking pictures, he puts 2 strings as a cross on the end of his 8-inch Schmidt-Cassegrain to give the stars diffraction spikes. So it mimics those cool diffraction spikes that you get from a Newtonian telescope. It's close to the coat hanger asterism, and amazingly, it looks just like a coat hanger. That's why they called it that. Deneb, 19th brightest star, which he points out will be the polar star in 980 AD. He says he's holding his breath because he can't wait.
It's gonna be fun. Polar line on Deneb.
And to understand that, he points out, look up axial precession of Earth. Basically, when you spin a top, it rotates backwards from the way the rotation of the top is going. So the axis of the rotation moves backwards to the axis for the direction of the rotation. Earth does the same thing. He's also tried photographing the North American Nebula. It's cool when you do it with a camera. You see something, but you don't see anything when you use your naked eye. Joseph Richard, Orion Nebula. Why? Easy to see in the heavy light polluted area. You take a single exposure, it comes out good. You don't need a tracking amount. It's colorful. And if you're using a wide enough field, you'll capture the Running Man galaxy or Running Man Nebula as well. Didn't catch that mistake there. Joseph Richard is the guy that uses a 6-inch MAC-CAS on an Exos 100 for planetary and does pretty darn good work. He's working on his rigs now and working on guiding and stuff, but he's really working hard on his skills. Mike Wiesner, Cassiopeia. Most astronomers learn to identify Cassiopeia by the W shape of the brightest stars. And you notice the other times of the year it looks like an M, WM, or rather MW. Hey, that stands for Mike Wiesner. At least that's how he has seen it since he was a very young amateur astronomer in 1954. And he named his observatory the Cassiopeia Observatory. Cassiopeia 2 times a year depicted the M and W, and I went and pulled it off his website, Cassiopeia Observatory. There's the observatory.
There it is, and there's the M and W.
There's the M and W for Mike Wiesner, and that's his Sky Shed, Sky Pod.
That the universe named something after him.
Yeah, that is crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
Although it's only the initials.
But hey, you make it your own. Eduardo Simone. Yeah. Simply, I love the Orion constellation when it's up in fall and winter. I can't get enough looking at the Orion Nebula and Running Man and the Horsehead. Can't explain as to why I'm drawn to them, but I just can't wait to view them every year. Eduardo, you're both there. It is cool to get up early on an October morning and see Orion up there in the sky before dawn. It's just spectacular. Cameron Gillis. Cameron, you get to read this. Go ahead.
Orion, of course. I mean, you can see from my background. I just love, everyone says the winter sky looks brighter, but it's just, you have a lot of beautiful bright blue stars. In the belt of Orion, of course, is very prominent on those cold winter nights. Being from Canada, of course, those crisp evenings. And
crisp.
Basically, crisp, crisp. And I love the Rigel, Betelgeuse, and of course all the nebulosity that's in there. I mean, the continuous thing from the Orion, Barnard's Loop, Horsehead, and it's kind of like a familiar and a very how can you say it, warming and comfortable sight in the cold, dark winters. To have that, to see a beautiful, familiar asterism or constellation. So, yeah.
When you see wide field view of Orion and see Barnard's Loop and all that nebulosity in there, it makes me want to be able to see in the infrared at night, because I just can't just imagine what the sky would look like if we could see in infrared. Just
Oh
astounding.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, so keep it moving along. Jeff Weiss, Orion, and because M42 was the first nebula I ever saw, and I could not believe it. I will never forget it. And a lot of people, the first thing they look at, other maybe the moon or the planets, is M42. It's their first. It was the first thing photographed other than the moon. It's just amazing how many people start with M42. It's so easy to find. It's just there. It's big and bright, and it's just cool. So, all right, Andrew Corkle, my favorite constellation is Orion. Remember watching Orion in cold winter Nebraska as it rose over the winter wheat fields. We used to sing a song about Orion in elementary school. Orion is arising. Orion seemed crystal clear and amazingly bright stars. Now they live in California with lots of light pollution. He didn't put a frowny face there, but we can all see that frowny face where it should be inserted. And he's 50 years older. He still remembers that song when I look up at Orion. And there's the link to it. And I thought, well, if I'm going to put the link, we might as well just, here we go. Can y'all hear that? Can you hear it?
No.
Yeah, you can't play it. Can't. It's probably copyrighted.
Okay, well, I turned it off. So could y'all not hear it? All right, I stopped it.
You stopped it. It's enough to tell them where it is.
Although here's the deal. That's probably a small enough song that they're not going to block us from using it if we happen to use it. Because I'm playing the YouTube video, so I'm not like I'm stealing it for our own. But although the last Global Star Party got blocked by Sony Music.
Yeah, just because they blocked Cameron Gillis's live moonshot.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because it was the moon.
Apparently, Sony has a copyright on live images.
Wow.
Or their
Which-
AI
which-
algorithm, which
which
is
one
what I'm
was
sure
that?
it all is.
You mean last night's or?
Yeah, they probably
Oh.
have. Kent was mentioning that they probably have a record, cover or something like that that has the moon on it, and that's what pings that
Yeah, it just
blocking mechanism.
my guess is they have, that there's an album that has the moon on it, and every image, because I have friends who have posted, and I've seen on Facebook people who have posted that Sony or there's a company in South America blocks their picture on
Of the moon.
Facebook because it's the moon. And Clint Branham has had it happen to him 2 or 3 times, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
How does it actually work? You brought it up. Does it actually like clip the video, or what does it actually do? What you get a warning, or what happens?
so it blocks it.
They block you in 236 countries.
So it
You can still see it on your timeline,
yes.
but if they decide to block it, you have an opportunity to say, hey, we disagree, and we have to state our reason why. Well, we disagree because this was Cameron Gillis, who was actually on the show, and it was a live view of the moon. It wasn't like a,
And
But does it block the whole video, or does it block?
they blocked the whole video.
The whole video.
Yeah. So if you're broadcasting, this is a little tip, guys. If you're broadcasting, don't use any music that's copyrighted. Okay.
Wow.
Don't use any imagery that is copyrighted. If it's a famous image or something, there are guidelines and stuff that you can look at on Facebook. I have noticed that Facebook is more strict than, say, like some other social media platforms in this regard. But I know that we've talked about music before with this group, and several of the people are musicians, I guess, and they've played covers where they've been like on YouTube, and YouTube will block a cover of a famous song.
Okay. Wow. Okay, that's good to know. So no more live videos of the moon then. Okay.
Yes, because Sony owns
No,
the
why,
moon.
we do it anyway. So we just have to argue with them, and then they take that, they lift it off, as far
Hey,
as
Okay.
hey
lock
Kent,
on it.
hey
Yeah.
Kent, before
Yes,
you
ma'am.
move on, what was that prize? That Martin
A
Eastburn?
52-degree, 40 millimeter.
Okay.
Woohoo!
And I'm shipping it out right now.
I thought we'd shipped it.
Hadn't gone out.
Let me check on that because did I give you that to you to process? Yeah, I think I processed it. Don't ship anything until we check, just to make sure.
Sounds great.
You could have two. And use them
Yeah.
like this.
Get a
Bino.
binocular
Hey,
telescope.
and then he can get one of those bino viewers, and
Yes.
then he could use it.
But it's a 2-inch, 40-millimeter eyepiece,
Well,
right?
there you go.
So I was going to talk about the
Hammer
Galileoscope.
it into the 1.25-inch eyepiece holder.
So I was going to talk about
Oh,
the
Martin says,
Galileoscope.
yes, you shipped it, and I registered it. He has it.
I thought he had it. Yeah,
Yay.
yeah. I
Good,
thought so.
good.
There we go.
Well, hi Martin. Glad you won, and glad you're here to verify. You saved me a little bit of legwork because I was pretty certain I'd done it. So good deal. All right. So I was going to talk about the Galileoscope, but we're at 4:50 right now, and Cameron still's got to go. So
Oh, that's true.
we'll save Galileoscope for another day and another dime. So I'm done.
All right.
So I was just amazed that sort of amazed. I thought we'd have a broader, more different constellations than we had. We had 4 favorite constellations. I thought we'd have a few more than that, but I guess it's the big bright ones are the most popular ones.
Yeah, there's some objects that are very popular as well when you go to annual star parties. For instance, I used to go to the Riverside Telescope Makers Conference for many years. I think I went 25 years in a row or something like that. And it happens in May around Memorial Day. And so the object that's up, whether there's moon or no moon, because they always held it on Memorial Day weekend, they changed that later. But because it was always on Memorial Day weekend, some of the weekends were full moon. Some of them were, partial moon or whatever. But M13 is always a real pleasing object to look at. So you'd have, 600, 1,000, 2,000 people at the RTMC, which at the time was billed as one of the world's largest star parties. I started calling it the M13 party, okay? Because you would go from scope to scope to scope to scope, and you would just ask them, well, what do you got in the scope there? And they'd say, oh, M13, M13. So me and my astronomy club started calling it the Great M13 Star Party, so I guess
That
it
would
has
actually-
enough stars in M13 that it could satisfy everybody. There's like 500,000 stars or something in there, but.
So I'm watching on Facebook, and it looks like I'm having trouble running it. So I don't know if something happened or what, but I'm not being able to get it to come up
What are you looking for?
on Facebook. I watch the stream to see questions on Facebook, and it's not coming up. It bombed on me.
Oh, well, I've got some comments and stuff that we can go over here just a little bit.
Yeah.
We have, Richard Grace is the first to log on. We've got Andrew Corkill on, Harold Locke, Brooke Davies, Mike Wiesner, Jim Norwood, Pekka, Hautala, who else? Of course, Martin Eastburn, our big winner here. I think that's most of the people that have signed in chatting anyways. Book wants to know, how do you copyright the moon? I don't know, but somebody's going to try. Let's see. And Mark says, no one can copyright the moon.
Yeah, Book, that's exactly how I replied. I said, it's a live shot through somebody's telescope. I said it was Pekka because I thought it was Pekka. Sorry, Cameron. So he thinks it's Pekka's.
What if they come back and they say, no, it was Pekka? Oh, it was Cameron.
It was Cameron Gillis. I said, well,
we're going to block it anyways.
It was a live picture of the moon, and I'm sorry, but Sony does not own the copyright on a live image of the moon.
Nope. That's right. They'd like to. It's their algorithm.
Yeah.
Harold Locke says North Bay Astronomy from New Brunswick shoots live images of the moon all the time. I wonder if they've ever been blocked. And Pekka says, if Sony dares to touch my moon, they will regret that action, and I will not look at Sony brand after that. Yeah, it's tough. And Ark Boulder wants to know, what's a good astronomy club in Northwest Arkansas area, Bentonville? I'm going to turn that over to Kent Marts.
What was the question again?
What's a good astronomy club in Northwest Arkansas?
Let's see.
Bentonville. You know anyone? Anyone? Any club? Anybody that might know?
Sugar Creek Astronomical Society.
That's funny. Aren't you the
Absolutely.
president of the Sugar Creek Astronomical Society?
Yes, I am.
Yes, that's the reason why it sounds so familiar.
Yes,
No,
I
it's
am.
a great club. It's a great club. I've been to their club meetings. They have great speakers. You got Kent Marts running it, you know. So it's fun. They're good. They're good people, and they're good astronomers too.
Sugar Creek Astronomical Society on Facebook. And we also have a more popular page, a wider Ozarks Stargazers. It's another page that's associated with the chapter as well. Our meetings are the second Tuesday of each month at 6:30. We broadcast on Zoom, have been Zoom until last month.
How do they join? How do they join, Ken?
Show up, cough up $20, and voila, you're a member. Actually, $15 for an individual. The high price of $20 for a family.
Oh, wasn't that the cost of membership in the 1960s or something? I mean,
Something like that.
pretty-
Yes,
pretty
I think it's been $20 since it formed 20 years ago. So it gets you membership into the Astronomical League, the
Okay.
quarterly magazine, The Reflector, and access to some very experienced stargazers. And there's a group called the Old Timers, only because they're some of the members have been around for a while, and they get together at Bella Vista, which was a former recreation retirement community that's really been embraced because there's so much housing and lots available, and the average age is plummeted into just a regular community. But the cemetery is very quiet. The residents don't care if we're there, and it's dark, and so it's a pretty good site, and that's where the old timers generally meet. Sometimes on some of the lake dams, but they've put up lights and that's become a problem. But find us on Facebook, or just call customer service and ask for me, or leave your number if I'm not available, and I'll give you a call back, and we'll get you set up. But yeah, on Facebook, the meetings are announced there and listed. We meet at a church, but you can join online as well. And the great resource is to just go Google astronomy clubs in Arkansas or astronomy clubs in Oregon. And, those pop up, and some of them are more active than others. But it's the internet's a great resource to go search. But
so it is Sugar Creek Astro, right?
Sugar Creek Astronomical Society.
Yeah.
And on
Got it.
Facebook, it is
Here.
Sugar Creek Astronomical Society.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at Sugar Creek Astro is the actual
There we go.
handle, I guess. Yep, on Facebook. And we're going to start having star parties out at Hobbs in September and October, it looks like, which is a state park. We've had as many as 500 to 600 people show up at those. I suspect the first one will draw
They're free,
a big
right?
crowd.
These star parties are free.
They are free. Yep, and it's in a decently dark sky. It's probably low Bortle 4, maybe Bortle 3. Looking to the east is really nice. It's in a forest. It's in a state park. It's got a forest, so we don't have a real good low horizon, but it's still a darkest site that's an easy drive for most people in the region.
Jim Norwood said he just tried to ask Google. I said, "Hey Google, what astronomy clubs charge 1960s prices?" If there's only one, it's the Sugar Creek Astronomical Society. So there you go.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah. Well, good. Okay, so we are going to transition to Cameron. And Ken, thank you very much. Yeah, we'll pick up the Galileoscope next time.
Yeah, next time.
All right. And
I'm gonna go ahead and bow out. I've got some emails I have to deal with. Although Cameron's disappeared, either his auto background 80
he got absorbed into the Orion Nebula itself.
There he is.
Oh, there he is.
He
They
escaped
they
the deep
unabducted
gravity.
him. Yeah, it's a lot of people complain about being abducted by aliens. What about if they don't really want you on the spacecraft? You know, how do you feel after that? You know,
Yeah, is it bad?
feel
for
bad.
them?
Like,
No, or
yeah,
good?
not even aliens want me.
Sorry.
Just joking, guys.
All right.
Okay, we're going to transition. Scott's kind of punch drunk from last night. All right, here we go.
Thanks, Ken.
There we go. And we're back. So let's bring Cameron on. You've got the stage here, Cameron.
Thanks a lot, Scott. All right, so let me share my screen here. Okay, so we got. So first of all, just kind of a level setting where we left off. So we still have the same almost 3,000 visual observations that we're reporting. But since last time, I actually did some observing. I added some categorization in Ursa Major, and I added about another 100 objects into the best and brightest. So if you actually look at, the my sky survey, I go back to observing list, best and brightest, and highlight them. You'll see that there used to be a big gap over Ursa Major. So if I go and I zoom out here, it's a little bit bigger actually. Move it down. Move it down here. So basically, if we zoom out, Ursa Major is in a pretty good position for me with my alt-azimuth mount to be able to catch it as it's swinging around. So here's Ursa Major, and as you can see, there is it's a huge constellation. It extends the galaxy clusters from Virgo, continue all the way through. You can see the kind of an interesting line pattern here, the way it's clustering, and again, what you see here highlighted in magenta is all the ones I classified as best and brightest. So a lot of them are actually quite bright. I mean, obviously the M81 and M82 over here, also known as Bode's Nebula, those are beautiful, super bright. Quite with the magnitude 6 and 7, I think. We zoom back in. So magnitude 6.8 for M81 and magnitude 8 for M82. But even with those, there's a lot of other ones as you start. The thing is, they often get overlooked because they're a little bit more remote, so a little more challenging for star hopping. But now, once you've got some orientation, you can start to pick out some of these other brighter ones. So I added those. If we go back to my presentation, and we've explored 32 images, and arbitrarily we started off in Eastern Virgo. We went through Hercules recently, looked at some galaxies, and now we're going to move down to Libra. So all Libra, of course, being very close to the horizon, and I'm also switching. That's with a smartphone, but I'm also adding my astronomy camera, my ASI 294, and I've got some developments there that I will share, and basically use that as a complement. So between both the smartphone setup and my 294, that will help make my survey even better. So So if I look at it here, right now we've done all Eastern Virgo over here. We moved up to Hercules, and now we're coming back down here while it's still kind of at the tail end of the season into Libra. So if I go, this is the grouping that we'll be looking at today. And but before we go into those, there's 9 new objects that we'll be reviewing today. Before we go into that, I do want to have a quick summary of some of the my smartphone and my astronomy camera imaging setup. I shared a little bit, of course, well, quite a bit last night, but I'm going to recap some of it. The main thing is just a reminder of my smartphone setup. The main thing I got working is I got it working over TeamViewer, so that basically I can take the images with my smartphone from my computer, which makes it very easy for the workflow. And then I use my tablet for controlling Sky Safari. And then if we look at my my new dedicated astronomy setup, what has been added since the last time is I have now the filter drawer, and then I also have both a IR cut filter and a UHC filter with an extra filter drawer, so that I can switch between galaxies and nebulae, and then take better quality images with this setup. So the other thing, the biggest thing is I found out while I was testing this the first time, is the DSi Air Pro, the Wi-Fi that's built into it isn't very good. It's in a shielded box, very poor Wi-Fi. So what happens is when you start to do focusing and downloading a lot of images for, like, let's say half a second exposures, or even when you're stacking, when 10 seconds exposures, etc., it starts downloading to your tablet over Wi-Fi or your PC, it's really slow and it starts buffering and basically gets overloaded. It falls behind, and it gets to the point where very intermittent coverage. I tried to use it in station mode. It does support it, but doesn't have very much range. And you start to rotate the telescope blocks the Wi-Fi signal as well. So long story short, I had an extra router, so I was like, yeah, I want to solve this. I thought about it, stewed about it, and I said, I'm going to plug in this router. And sure enough, there's an Ethernet port on the ASI Air Pro that allows me to plug into the Wi-Fi router, and that gives me a dedicated Wi-Fi signal. And I can, with these great antennas, much better coverage, I can go anywhere in the house now, and it works really fast. And I'll give you a quick demonstration of that right now. So let me just,
I'm curious about something, Cameron. How
Yes.
far away? I mean, do you just have a cable going from the ASI Air to your Wi-Fi router?
Yeah. Let me actually show it to you. Yeah,
Okay.
you're right. And let me show you, and I'll show you a little bit.
The Wi-Fi router is not mounted on the scope itself, then.
It's not, no, but you could.
Yeah.
Either way, you're going to need a cable for power or Ethernet.
Right.
One or you choose whichever one you like. In my case, because it's quite a large router, you can get a smaller router that plugs in.
Yeah.
But in my case, it was easier to just tether the Ethernet cable. And let me actually switch to. Okay, I'm sharing my screen, so I'm gonna stop. No, I want to share my screen. I want to share. How am I gonna do this? Let's see here. I stop sharing my screen. Oh yeah, I'm gonna do this video. Okay, there we go. And I'm gonna turn off my background so you can see everything. And none. Okay, now you can see everything. Okay, let me show you the setup here. So, so here's the setup, and so I got the ASI Air Pro here with the Ethernet port, and then you can see I just have it hanging here, and it goes down. It's a pretty short cable, and
Okay.
I just put it on a chair, and actually I put the chair really close to the scope. So what happens is I check. I'm going to loosen this clutch here. If I rotate this, you could, if you place it just right, you can actually move the scope around without any cord wrap, right? As long as you put it pretty close to the, and because it's not an equatorial, there's not too much risk of cord wrap as long as I go in the same direction, right? It's not pretty, but it's easy to deploy. You know, I don't have to do any tie wraps or anything. I can easily unplug the Ethernet cable and set up. So that makes it works out pretty good. I just put it on a chair close by, and then I can rotate it freely.
Good deal.
And then the other thing is this cable. This is the imaging cable that goes into the USB port, USB 3 port in the front there.
Okay.
That part is safe because if you notice, because it's fixed to the dovetail, if I move this vertically, which I'm not going to do right now because I want to keep my hands, it will swing down. Basically, this cable doesn't have any strain on it because it stays in the same relative position when you plug that. The other thing is, this is my 294. You'll notice that there's a piece of tape here on my imaging tray. I'm still looking to get this optimum. I still need to get another extension, a 16 millimeter extension to get it the back focus perfect. But for now, this is pretty good. It's a little zoomed in, but what happens is there's an M42 between this T adapter and this filter drawer. There's an M42 to M48 O-ring that changes the thread size, and there's no backing inside the filter. So if you keep screwing it in, it will actually go in and wreck your filter, right? So what you want to do is you want to get it to the right size, and then to prevent it from rotating freely and unscrewing or anything, I just put a piece of tape. So that's just good old duct tape solution, but simple, but works good. The other thing you'll notice is this USB is off to the left side, and I was playing with the angle, the orientation of the image, and it turns out this is kind of upside down and backwards, which is perfect because if you look at how the focus goes, that's exactly a flipped mirror image of what you get on the screen. So when you take a picture in this orientation, it's actually correct. So you don't have to do any flipping or modifying when you actually are doing your image processing. It's already in the right orientation when you're taking your image. So now I'm going to show you the other thing I want to show you is
there's a question here, Cameron.
Yeah.
Martin Eastburn wants to know: do you have the internet cable as an endpoint or the source ISP port?
So the Ethernet port is just as a plug-in station. So it's a standalone router. I don't have it plugged to the internet, and it's just operating in station mode. So I'm literally using it as its own independent router. So I don't have to do any fancy setup. I just configure the Wi-Fi, and then you just literally plug in DHCP. It automatically recognizes, assigns an IP port on the ASI Air. I didn't have to do any fancy fiddling around. In fact, what I did, I used exactly the same settings as before, except it's just not connected to the internet. And that way, it's literally a mirror image of my home network, except it's on its own Wi-Fi channel.
Cool.
Yeah. And then this here is this is what I wanted to show you here. This is my tablet with the ASI Air Pro. So let me just and this is in focus mode. And what I want to show you is what was happening when I was not having a dedicated Wi-Fi channel. So if I go, and you'll see the loading sign here. You see this loading?
Yeah.
And you see how fast it's working? Now, this is at a half a second exposure, and it's working really fast because it's, and that is very important because when you're centering on images, when you're focusing stars, and you're orientating the image, and for that matter, doing a star alignment, you need to have this download really fast. Otherwise, it starts buffering. It starts taking images locally, and then it just can't send it over Wi-Fi. So when I was having that issue before I got the Wi-Fi router, this was starting to buffer and it was going very, very slow. This bar wasn't going flashing like that. It was going really slow. It was going in. And then by the time the next image was starting to download, it would be too far behind and finally just, crap out basically. So I just wanted to show you how well it works, and I can be anywhere in the house now, literally, or around the yard or anything, because this Wi-Fi router has such good signal and it will react really nice. And that's really important to have a responsive system. Otherwise, you're going to be fighting your equipment. Right. So that's my update on what I've learned in the last couple of weeks on my imaging system. And what I'll tell you is that it's really good to be able to crawl before you walk, so to speak.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of pieces, a lot of things that come into play when you move into astroimaging, and you can have a very frustrating experience if you don't, kind of take it in steps. So I really and what I've also learned is you really have to think about your workflow, what you want to accomplish, what are your objectives, and how much time you want to spend processing versus working with the technology. But what I hope to relay here, and what I hope everyone can benefit, is I want to give people kind of the stepping stones so that they can do this in increments at their own level and be able to say, this is good, and just so they can, instead of giving them a whole, drinking from the fire hose and here's all the stuff you need,
right,
just getting overwhelmed and frustrated and having things conflict with each other, just kind of show, hey, that there's a good way you can do this and really have a lot of fun along the way. It's the journey, as I said, right?
Yeah.
So with that said, let's now switch to, I'm going to share my screen again.
Harold Locke says, I use my Wi-Fi on 2 different mounts. It shows up as an open Wi-Fi on available networks. I sometimes think neighborhood bandits are interfering with it. Does anyone in populated areas think that may have happened?
Oh, yeah, I can tell you, even with my, when my family and I, when we're doing a lot of, streaming in the evenings, and I'm setting up this, we have traffic issues sometimes, and I've had my Evolution 8, when I'm controlling it, go wonky, where it takes the last ASCOM command and it just keeps them going, and you have to really be careful with that. That was another thing, is it can all of a sudden there's a leftover command and it just starts to pan all the way up, and I have to turn it off and reset it. So
I see.
So those types of things, those are little bugs I'm working out. But yeah, it's definitely an issue. And also you throw in Bluetooth as well, which is in the same frequency, by the way.
Right.
That's why I was having all these problems with my Bluetooth the last couple of days.
There's so much Wi-Fi anymore. It's great to walk around with your tablet or your telephone or something and your laptop, anywhere in the house and have Wi-Fi. But the more and more Wi-Fi things you have in your house, of course, the more traffic that you got. And so I've started to run into many times where things that I run Wi-Fi, if I'm at another location or whatever, they just flat out won't work. It'll show connected, but won't work.
Yes.
So
Because what happens, Wi-Fi technology, it's called channel sense multiple access. So it checks the channel conditions, and if there's a lot of, this is what you see in airports a lot. You can see the signal, it's fine. But what happens is if there's lots of traffic, it starts to back off, because it doesn't want to interfere with the other traffic. And it gets to the point where it's very polite, but it's so polite that you end up basically choking your IP, your IP bandwidth. So that's basically what's going on. So that's another reason why, by the way, you'll want to, if wherever possible, you try to put it on your astronomy gear on its own network, and then and it has its own channels. That way, you can make this a reliable connection, and it will keep a good signal. So yeah, that's basically the update there. So now let's start to go through our survey, starting off with let me just go to here we go. So here's the total list of all the objects, and I'm going to now filter that. We're going to go to the ones that I took these pictures on 2nd of June, one of the few clear nights. Right now we're having a heat wave coming through Seattle region, so it's a kind of a mixed bag. On one hand you get some clear skies, but then other times you get these weird clouds forming at all different times, so it kind of makes the visibility or transparency really bad sometimes. So so we're finished. Before we go into Libra, there's a couple of galaxies left over in Eastern Virgo. Just to so the first one is 5077. So if we zoom in to that guy, and what I've shown here in these two circles, these two image circles, one is the circle is the smartphone. Basically my 62-degree eyepiece, Explorer Scientific 62-degree eyepiece, 26 millimeter, which gives me, if I look at it again, just get my setup here. Equipment scope display. It's a little bit slowed. Okay, there we go. So 6226, it gives me a field of view of a 0.79, 0.8 degrees, let's say, a full field, almost a full degree, and it's 78 times, and exit pupil 2.6. So that's the circle. And then I also have the square, which is my 294, but the 294 astronomy camera is using the f6.3 focal reducer. So that gives me actually roughly the same field of view, except it's rectangular, obviously squished a little bit. So now let's go back to what it looks like again. So this is what you're seeing. So this gives me a nice similar field of view using both setups. And like I said, depending on the object and the how the workflow is going for that night, I might do smartphone imaging, or I might do my dedicated astronomy camera. So I can now start to switch between those. And eventually what I'm going to do is when I get the ED80, I'm going to piggyback that on that, and I'll actually do both simultaneously. And that will be really fun. So that will be another adventure that we can look forward to later in the summer. So continuing, 5077. Let's get rid of the time. It was around 11 o'clock at night on June the 2nd. So I turn off the time here. And if we look at it, there's that bright star, and you can see these three stars here.
Right.
And 5077 is magnitude 11.3. And if you look at the distance, it's pretty far, 140 million light years. If you recall, I think the closest we had in the last round of galaxies was around 50 million light years. But we got some that were out to 300 million light years. But this one's kind of in the middle of the pack, 140 million light years. Pretty bright, and as you can see in the smartphone image, pretty good. It shows up very distinct nucleus, and the little bonus galaxy 5079 is in the same field, really close by. I love when there's pairs of galaxy like this. And if we click on that, it's not too bad. It's a 12.6, which is probably a little bit out of reach for definitely out of reach for small scopes, but with an 8-inch, you can pick it up with averted vision. And it didn't make the cut, as you can see, as best and brightest. So I expect that this 5077 you could probably pick out with probably a 4-inch. I have to check it with the ED80. 11.3 is really pushing it from a non-stellar object, but we'll take a look. It's pretty concentrated, so I'm hopeful that we should be able to pick that out. So that's 5079 and 77. Then we move on to if we zoom back out, and we move now to the edge of Virgo, 5093. As you can see, Virgo quickly tapers off as you go there's a little grouping that we saw earlier in the upper part of Virgo, but down here in the lower part, the combination of being low to the horizon, and also just a further more sparse galaxies. You just there's not too many. So 5043, but there are some. And go to this guy, so you can see this triangle of stars here, and this little bowl, and then you can see this little bowl. So basically, this one's actually quite distinct. 5493. Let's check it out. Click on it. It's 11.4, so it's a little bit brighter than the other one. And if we check out the distance, it's another 130. So it's around the same, but it's obviously a little bit brighter, a little more intense, which is nice. It's nice to get some of these galaxies are really giving you a good contrast, so that you have a very good chance of picking them out. 5634 globular cluster. So now we're moving closer to the galactic plane. So we're starting to pick up our first globular cluster even in Virgo. And if you zoom into that guy, he has a couple of bright stars. And this is a nice one. I really love it when you have a grouping of stars, a triangle of stars, and you have a nice deep sky object nestled in between. And so this is nice. This one you should easily be able to see in a smaller scope. It's pretty condensed. It's a smaller. Some of these globular clusters, they might have a good magnitude, but they're huge. They're really spread out, so they're impossible to see. Globular clusters are an interesting thing, like a little bit different than similar to planetary nebulae. If you look at you really have to look at the size, because some of the, if we take a look at this guy, how bright is he? He is magnitude 9.5. I've seen a lot of magnitude 9.5 globular clusters in other areas, and they're just too big, and they really not very distinct, so that you don't get a good clear core. So it makes it really sparse. But this one here is nice and concentrated. It's easy to find because it's in this grouping of stars. And if you look at the distance, now we're moving to within our galaxy, or at the edge of our galaxy. Let's take a look at the distance. This should be at tens of thousands. I'm going to guess in the tens of thousands of light years. Yeah, so 82,000 light years. So it's actually one of the further globular clusters. So it's pretty far out there, but still obviously within the gravity of our galaxy. Okay, and the next one should be, we're moving from west to east, and that's basically, you'll notice obviously the NGC numbers. It's easy to sort them because they're numbered from west to east. They increase. So when you're sorting your observations, that's a good way to categorize. So 5756, which is right here. Let's zoom in. So there's a couple of stars here, a couple of stars here, and then this one, is, this is pretty it doesn't really show up very well. I mean, I show where it is, but if we look at it, it's it's on the edge. 12.2, a little bit. I still visually, this is an example where visually with averted vision you can see sometimes better than a smartphone. So it's really neat to be able to compare your visual observations to the what you can see. So this one doesn't show up. I'm looking forward to re-imaging this with the astroimager with my dedicated astronomy camera and see how that comes out, because it looks like there's a little bit edge on, and that could be part of the reason why it doesn't show up very well.
Yeah,
but
you can see kind of that angle, if that's, you can see the angle of that.
You can still see the angle of it, yeah.
So
a trained eye from Scott. yeah. We're used to looking at these faint fuzzies
for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, faint fuzzies. Okay, so the next one, let's see here. Where are we at? 5796. That's right here.
Lubo in China is making a comment. He says it would be interesting to do a planetary nebula like Saturn Nebula that is bright and small, very suitable for smartphone size sensor. You pointed that out at the Global Star Party last night.
Yeah, and by the way, thanks. I have a picture on the smartphone, I think, of Saturn Nebula from last year, I think. I might dig it up, but anyhow, we're going to get there for sure. It's coming up in the later on in the fall or late summer. So it is a nice one. It's quite bright. Yeah, you're right. You can see the NSA and there's some structure in that. It's similar to that image I showed yesterday of the Cat's Eye Nebula. Obviously, a different shape, but it has a nice. It's a great smartphone candidate.
Harold Locke comments. He says, "Thanks to Cameron, I've been keeping observation notes in my Sky Safari app." So.
Oh, that's cool. Thanks, Harold.
Yeah.
Awesome. So and this guy here is nice. It has a couple of stars which point close to where the galaxy is, and this is very nice. You can see actually a little bit of structure. You see the central part, and you see a little bit of dissipation there, but very distinct. And let's take a look at its specs. 11.6, so it's it's in the mid range, and let's see how far away it is. 140. So yeah, they're all kind of in the pack. 140 million light years. Same distance there. Next one is 5812. A bit of lag. There we go. Yeah, what's causing that? There you go. This one's nice. It has came up really sharp in the smartphone. And the way I do these smartphone images, again, you can see they're quite noisy. What I do, my image processing that I actually do is I literally take the 10-second 800 ISO image. I email it to myself at 30% compression. So I don't send it's probably I don't store TIFF. You could probably store them in TIFF and 20 megabyte files or whatever,
Sure.
But I don't want to do that. So I just compress it, and then I after I paste it in here, I actually do a brightness and contrast adjustment that allows it to improve the resolution, to be able to make it pop a little bit. And
Sure.
then I also and then what I do is I repaste it as a JPEG. And that way, my overall PowerPoint doesn't get like tens of megabytes. It's actually
Right.
it becomes very small, so it's very manageable. And that's another thing you want to factor in, is just the whole management of all your data, right? You've got to really think. I mean, I think with Molly, we were talking Gary last night. I mean, he's working with a fire-breathing machine to do his image processing and all that, gigabytes of stuff, right?
Right.
Transit. So that's a whole new level, and
He's replacing
really,
his computer every 6 months, so.
Exactly, he's replacing his computer. So it's cool, it's great, but that's a bit daunting for your average person who's just starting out and wants to you can get there, but all in small baby steps, and again, it depends what you want to do. In my case, I'm doing the survey, so eventually you can scale to that. But for now, we're going to learn a lot of the bits and pieces to make it work really nice for everyone, so that we can all enjoy in the process. So this one is so you can see this one's quite bright, 812, and if I look at 11.1, see, it's one of the brighter ones. Yeah, you can really see it pops out really nice. This is a very pleasing one. And see, it's much closer, 87 million light years. So it's within 100 million light years. One of the nearby ones. $5861. 5861 is right here. Another thing I want to note is this is, if I zoom back out, this is quite low to the horizon for me. So we're really pushing the limits. I can tell you right off the bat that at least 1 magnitude reduction in visibility when you go at this level. you know, when I can pick out magnitude 12 galaxies up to 13 pretty clearly in the when you're looking through less atmosphere up here.
Of course.
Yeah, and then as you go down here, it's I like, oh, it's a 10th magnitude galaxy. It's like no chance. Sometimes if it's just not good enough contrast. 5861. So you might have better luck with this lower latitudes. 11.6. So it shows bright, but it doesn't. You can see a little bit, but it's very hard to see. So if we can take a look at this one, 79. So it's also in the pack of below 100 million light years. A little more edge on. So you notice that it's interesting. This one being more of an edge on. Normally that gives you more contrast. For some reason, these last pictures with these edge on galaxies or more, I guess, on a tilt are not really coming out very well. And then the next one, 5878. Got a couple of nice bright stars to reference. So you got this pattern over here. So there you go, just off of this, you got 3 stars and down. And this one, you see, this one's on an angle, but you can see the bulge. And if you look at it, it is magnitude 11.4. So you see the 11.4s, anything around 11.5 or less, comes up pretty good. And what I hope, again, to get out of all this, besides, you know, giving a nice, you know, best and brightest list for everyone to start combing through, is for the smaller scopes, I want to go through and see, because I'm thinking that, you know, this 10-second limitation on a smartphone with ISO 800 might be a great kind of threshold to be able to see what is detectable in a small scope. And this is with an 8-inch, of course, but if you can take an image with an 8-inch with a smartphone, that gives you maybe the equivalent of what you can see with a small scope. That's what I'm going to be testing when I get my 88 again, and then go back to these objects and then compare visually to what these pictures look like. The good part is you can mentally, once you find them, you can do the star hole plopping, and you can really know where you're looking, so you're not going to be guessing, which really helps the overall experience. Let me just get it water. It's getting a little dry here in Seattle.
Yeah.
Okay, so 5878, yeah, 11.4, and I think, I can't remember if I already did this, but it's it's 92, yeah. So I didn't do this one. It's still under 100 million light years, but it's 92 million light years. It's kind of in the middle. And 5791. Let's zoom back out. 5791. I got a little bit out of order. That's okay. This one's the lowest in the pack. He is 11.6, but he shows up, which is nice. I mean, you can see the brightness. You know, obviously looking through more atmosphere, a little more air glow, but still able to pick it up. It's concentrated enough, so that was nice. And it's 100. It's one of the furthest. Isn't that interesting? 160 million light years, and it's the lowest on the horizon. Yet it still comes in at 11.6. So, and it shows up nicely on the smartphone. You can see it. So that was nice. Okay, now we're gonna wrap it up. Those are the new objects. I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna go back. We already did M5 previously, but I just wanted to bring it up again because it's close to that galaxy that Chuck showed, and I want to show you where that is, just for kicks. But
the big galaxy?
The big galaxy, the 1101, right? IC 1101.
Biggest galaxy, yes.
Yeah, the biggest galaxy. So we're going to go there, but let's.
Right.
So this is the image from the smartphone of M5. M5 is a nice big cluster. It's really nice. You know, there's some streaking going on. That's one of the advantages of a, you know, equatorial. I'm looking forward to access to, actually, as I'm doing this more and more, Scott, I can tell you, I really need an equatorial mount because
Yes, you do.
I'm getting tired of all this.
Oh yeah, that's all.
streaking.
This is all TAS field rotation
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
Double periodic error. From
Exactly, you got it.
x-axis, RA axis. It's very difficult.
All
to
sorts of
control.
drifting. Oh
Right.
yeah, I have to let it settle, and all of a sudden it goes off, and very slowly, it does
Yeah.
something, and it's like,
Right.
okay, forget that. So, but I'm working through it. It's okay, but it's all part of the refinement, and so
Sure.
again, I just want to appreciate and recognize that, hey, there's a reason why you have that as a good flagship product. I mean, I really want to. I'm looking forward to getting my hands on that, and then all this stuff will be just that much more enjoyable.
Yeah, it gets easier.
It gets easier, yeah, exactly. So this is M5, and then if we look at that, just again, now we're moving to within the galaxy again, getting closer to the Milky Way. Object information. Yeah, so it's bright, man. 5.65, almost like a star, super bright, and it's with it's 24,000 light years away. It's loaded with stars, and I want to show you this history. This is my history, and then I had IC 1101. Here we go. It brings up, the nice part is you have a search history, so you can just click on that. So it's a 14th magnitude, right? 14.14, same specs. A little bit different. I think Chuck had a more accurate number. It was I think he had 1.04 gigalight years. This is 1.1 gigalight years, so it's really far. And if we center on it,
this is that galaxy, right?
This is that galaxy.
Now
it's all alone here, but I'm gonna play with the settings, and you can change the. Right now, I have a filter to go no lower than 13th magnitude, just to reduce the clutter. But if I start moving it to the right here, you start to see a lot more galaxies. So if I go to that level and we zoom in, some of the neighboring galaxies, see they're 17th magnitude, 17.8, 16.8, 17.6, 18. But let's look at this one here. This nearest one that I don't know if it's companion. Let's take a look. Object information. Yeah, it's also really far, 1.3 gigalight years away. It's a smaller one though, but the point is that what I want to do is I want to push the limits of my imaging capabilities. I mean, this 18th magnitude will be a real test, but some of these smaller galaxies, they have the advantage of having high surface brightness. Even though it's 18th magnitude, it's very condensed. So I'm hoping that when I take an image of this field, that I can start to pick out these galaxies, some of these, and then really kind of frame that. So that will be a little challenge project for me. I don't know when I'm going to get it done, but I try to get it done after the moon, because I can't do it with the moon. That's for sure. The moon is full now. So basically, I'm hoping in the next week, maybe by next weekend before the moon rises, I can try to snap this shot before it gets into to the dawn or the dusk sky. So and then last, I do want to show. Yesterday, I showed on the Global Star Party the M13. And moving from galaxies to globular clusters, we have 6207, which, like you rightly said last night, Scott, is a 12th magnitude galaxy in the similar field as. This is a wonderful kind of first foray for any of those who wants to move from into the galaxy area.
Yeah,
you start off with
great. The distance difference too between M13 and this galaxy is vast, and the galaxy looks small, especially if you have a wide enough field and an eyepiece to see it. But it just, for some reason, seeing both of those in the same eyepiece field is really remarkable.
it's a wonder. I remember when I first saw that,
Great.
and I can't
Yes.
remember which. I think it was with my 18 inch. I thought I needed an 18 inch for it. You don't need an 18 inch,
It will look
but I
great
saw
at
it.
an 18-inch, my God.
It
Yeah.
looks great. It looks fantastic.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And the globular cluster looks beautiful in a large scope, and then of course, then you complement that with a galaxy. It's just fantastic. See, actually, it's 11.3 magnitude. It's quite bright. And when you have an 18-inch, of course, you see some structure in this galaxy. But so that was a really surprise to me, because I used to have, before that, my biggest instrument was a 6-inch, and I could see it, but there was no. I actually never looked for this galaxy. Sorry, I correct myself. I always looked at M13, but I never knew this galaxy was there. And then of course I got my 18-inch, and then I went back to my 6-inch afterwards. See, this is the thing. You got to know where things are, and you have
Yes.
to know what's achievable with your different instruments. So you don't look for something you can't find, and you set your right expectations. It's all about setting expectations. And again, I can encourage anyone with even a smaller scope, check out, when you get M13, test yourself. And there's a little asterism here. There's a little, you basically take these two stars, this makes a triangle.
Right.
And then you flip it over, and then it's just over here. So you kind of complement, and then you're looking for these stars here.
Right.
And then it kind of makes a little trapezoid.
Yeah. And don't stare too hard at it. Otherwise it just seems to disappear. You have to let your eye wander a little bit and it'll pop in.
Yeah, but to your point, if we look at the distance now, this galaxy, it's 50 million. It's relatively close compared to the galaxies we were looking at earlier. However, it's
still
pretty darn far.
right.
It's really far. 50 million years ago, right? This galaxy had the light that we're seeing today. And then if we look at the M13, it should be again in the tens of thousands. So let's take a look. See, it's 23,000 light years.
23,000 light years. Yeah. So very close.
Huge, many orders of magnitude closer.
Yes.
Yep. So yeah, that's and this. So I wanted to flip back and forth, so you can see here's the actual image, and this is kind of what it looks like in an 18-inch actually, but it will look a little bit better, but you can see it more with direct vision. But you can see it's the central part and then the fainter area. But with a smaller telescope, you could definitely see the oval patch right there. So you just flip back and forth, you can see, bang. And the smartphone does a great job with, like I said, with stellar objects like globular clusters and stuff. And by the way, double stars. You try imaging double stars. That's something I'll be talking about in a future episode. There are some interesting challenges when you have a CMOS, large pixel, to be able to resolve double stars, compared to a CCD on a smartphone. So, but then you have seeing effect. That's the other thing. The problem is, we'll talk about that in a future episode. Anyway, so that's basically it for today. So thanks everyone. Hope you enjoyed it, and to be continued. So what we're going to do going forward, let me just zoom it out just to set everyone's expectations.
Okay.
So we've done Libra, we've done Eastern Virgo, we've done Hercules, and now we're just flirting with the Milky Way. I've got a lot of images now of the Milky Way, and it's coming up. And so we're going to probably start to go into Scorpio, Sagittarius, eat into that, and start to going through Cygnus and Lyra, and all these guys in the coming weeks. So look forward to that. So thanks, Scott.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's very cool. As we were looking at M5 is one of my favorite globular clusters to look at because it's so tight and so bright and beautiful and everything. So, and I always thought that Charles Mercier was the guy to discover it. It's fifth on his list of objects to avoid, but it ends up that discovery goes to a guy named Gottfried Kirch. Okay. And he was a German astronomer royal. The M5 discovery that he made is really interesting because he remarries with his second wife, Maria Margareta Winkelmann, who had learned astronomy from self-study and from this other guy. They were observing jointly, this guy, Godfrey Kirch, and they co-discovered M5 in May 5th, 1702. So on the 5th day of May, the 5th month, the 5th day, they discover M5, which I don't know what they called it at the time. But he's also listed as discoverer of the wild duck cluster, did a lot of things as far as discovery, variable stars, that type of thing. So it's interesting to read some of the backstory of these discoveries and how we get to know more about them. But anyways, we will see you tomorrow for another episode of On the Wing, and with another episode of Open Go-To Community with Jerry Hubble. And until that time, you guys keep looking up. Hope you enjoyed yesterday's Global Star Party. Next week's Global Star Party is going to be on the birthday of George Ellery Hale, as I've mentioned, and so it'll be a lot of fun. I'm now talking with presenters about bringing up special presentations about about this amazing person. So take care and good night. Until tomorrow.
Everybody.
Hello, everybody. This is Scott Roberts from Explore Scientific. And today I want to talk about the world famous Galileo Telescope Kit. This is a kit that you assemble by yourself. You'll learn how optics work by assembling the objective lens and also the eyepiece. And there's two different eyepieces that are in this. It's a 25 power, 20 millimeter eyepiece, but it also comes with this very clever little device here that works both as a Barlow lens that will double the magnification of this eyepiece, making it 50 power, or it can be used also as a Galilean eyepiece, which gives 17 power to the telescope. This is what Galileo virtually saw through his own telescope. So you can have that same experience that Galileo had looking at the moon, looking at Saturn's rings, looking at Jupiter. It is a telescope that was designed for the International Year of Astronomy in 2009, and it's a fantastic kit, both for child and adult, to learn how a telescope works. And so if you get the telescope like this, you can either have it on a stand like this, you can hand hold it like a pirate's glass, or on the bottom here, we have a threaded hole here that you can put it on a camera tripod. Very versatile, very rugged, and a lot of fun, all from Explore Scientific.